Thanks for tuning in to another NASCAR program here on either the Prime Sports Network YouTube channel or Mystery Caution. This is to let you know, and we've, of course, given you these hints over the past few months leading up to the end of the 2024 season that we would be moving to another channel. We've already made the move. We are now over at Proline TV. There's a link in the description. Please check that link out. Give it a click. You go to the new channel, and you're going to find out where all of our NASCAR coverage is going to be. We're going to have an additional handicapper this season. You might be familiar with him. Maybe you're not, but that's going to give us some more opinions. So that's really great. But we're looking forward to another great 2025. So once again, for all of your coverage, check out the Proline TV channel. Link in the description. Let us know if you have any questions or comments or anything that you need help with. As far as getting you over there, should be a simple process. And of course, make sure to subscribe once you're over to Proline TV so you never miss one of our NASCAR 2025 or F1 shows, along with CJ Verdun, of course, from rotowire.com. And I'm Greg DePalma. So let's go ahead and let's get on with the show. So you don't miss anything else that we're saying here. But don't forget, if you want to watch everything that we said on this video and all the other videos that we produced just recently, check out Proline TV. Yeah. Okay. So let's now get the hell away from this race and talk about more important things. And that is the new rule changes for the upcoming season and also how to watch NASCAR this season. And we are going to check out a video, two videos, actually. The first one, and both of them are produced by the same person. And we all know we've mentioned him many times on this program because he definitely has the best NASCAR coverage of any independent NASCAR channel in my mind. And that is Eric Estep. So let's go ahead and see what Eric has to say because we have not watched these videos. Okay. So that's the important thing you have to remember. You have to keep in mind here. We're going to react off of, for the first time. We saw that Eric had produced these videos over the last few weeks. And instead of watching them and using it as research information, like I've done many times among other places and things, just felt, hey, why not just let's just watch it now and see what he has to say, and maybe there'd be some good. I'm sure there's going to be some good information, and we can talk about it. So let's go ahead and first of all go over the major rule changes and see what Eric has to say here. Who are you, Eric? Where the heck's the place thing? There it is.
Let's talk playoff waivers. That was a fun conversation back in May, right? Now NASCAR says if a playoff waiver is granted for missing a race, the driver will forfeit all current and future playoff points earned prior to the playoffs and will start the playoffs with a maximum of 2,000 points. Exceptions to the forfeit of playoff points includes medical reason, driver, birth of a child, family emergency, etc., and age restrictions. So this means if this rule had been in place in 2024, when Kyle Larson chose to skip the Coca-Cola 600 to race in the delayed Indy 500, NASCAR granted him that waiver, which would have allowed him to still race his way into the playoffs. But under this rule, Larson would have forfeited all of the playoff points he had earned up to that point and any playoff points he may have earned after the fact. So, wow, playoff waivers just became much less powerful.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
I think it does. Yeah. We talked a lot about Kyle Larson and his decision whether to stay at the Indy 500 or move over and leave effectively to get to the 600 and the implications on that. In fact, I seem to recall waiting at least a week until NASCAR made their decision as to whether or not he would actually get a waiver for that. The only thing that concerns me is that we should basically call this the Kyle Larson rule, because that's what's prompting it. Let's be honest. If anybody wants to try to do both races, then they've got to make sure that they're back in time. And NASCAR is basically putting their foot down and saying that we expect you to put our series first if you're a full-time competitor and you're going for the championship, which I absolutely get. However, the question that I ask is how much great coverage did NASCAR get as a result of Kyle Larson being at the Indy 500. He's going to be doing it again. Should we be encouraging more drivers to be able to do the historic double? I think that gets a lot of media attention and a lot of souvenirs and a lot of fan attention, all of which is great for both series. So I think you'd want to figure out a way to encourage that. That's the only problem I have with it. However, yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. Certainly NASCAR asserting their dominance as they want to be the primary focus of all of their drivers, which I completely understand.
Now, again, they reiterate if a driver is injured, if that's why they're out of the seat and have to miss time, this does not apply. One waiver exception that's not listed is suspensions. So if you get suspended for right-rearing someone, intentionally crashing someone, you could stand to lose all of your playoff points, it appears, based on this rule change. Whew, that's harsh. So if you're suspended or you choose to miss a race for a reason not listed below, you may get your playoff waiver, but you may forfeit all of your playoff points. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that if it rains in Indianapolis again this year, Kyle Larson ain't sticking around. They will be jetting him off to Charlotte as quickly as they possibly can. This is a fair compromise, in my opinion. If you really want to miss a NASCAR race for something else, you can, but you're going to pay a price. I actually think this is fair. Maybe that's a hot take. These next couple of rule changes, I believe, are a response to what happened at Martinsville in November when Chevrolet and Toyota attempted to manipulate the finish of the race to get their drivers into the championship four. NASCAR says today, verbiage around the 100% rule is replaced with a focus on manipulating the outcome of an event/championship. The rule now reads, any competitors who attempt to manipulate the outcome of the event or encourages, persuades, or induces others to manipulate the finishing positions of the event shall be subject to a penalty from NASCAR. I'm not sure this is any less vague than the old artificially alter description. NASCAR also fulfilled their promise of including manufacturer penalties into the rulebook. NASCAR writes, rules violations by an OEM may result in a loss of manufacturer's points and or loss of wind tunnel hours and or loss of RCFD runs.
So what do you think? I mean, this is this any more different? Like, how do you feel any more confident that if this happens again, that they're not going to get away with it?
I completely agree with what he said. It is absolutely no more specific. In fact, I would say it is intentionally more vague in order to give NASCAR the leeway to be able to assess to manufacturers or teams, drivers, penalties should they do something that affects the outcome of the race. And 100% the result of what we saw in Martinsville. I think that, we talked about that a lot. Racing is racing. That was within its rules, and the manufacturers have just as much, if not more, incentive to make sure that their cars, their drivers make the playoffs or advance or whatever the case may be versus those that do not. So I think by making it more vague with this language and inserting the word manipulate, it's up to NASCAR's discretion, right? Because you could say 100%, but oh yeah, I was giving 100%, and you can see my tires slid a little bit when I got into the turn, and
yeah,
I braked. Manipulation makes it more vague, and it puts it at the discretion in the hands of NASCAR for them to make the call that they think that they need to make. My only concern with this, again, is that look who you're putting it in the hands of, and that's NASCAR. And how many times have we talked about inconsistent and unclear calls from NASCAR?
Okay.
Penalties will be assessed for a violation. There's some other fine details in here, but one more big rule change that is worth talking about in this instant reaction video is something called the open exemption provisional. NASCAR says, similar to a promoter's provisional used in short track and dirt racing, the open exemption provisional guarantees a starting position for world-class drivers who enter a NASCAR Cup Series race. Whoa, and they clarify, this isn't like a spot in the 40-car field. No, this could be like a 41st position on the grid, potentially. They say if the OEP is used, the driver/car owner will not be eligible for race points, playoff points, prize money, or any tiebreaker benefit of finishing position. So that's how they're able to add a 41st car, for example, to the grid. It's not siphoning any prize money away from the other 40 entries. This is wild. And I can't wait for future debates on what drivers qualify as world class. NASCAR says criteria for approval will be on a case-by-case basis, with prior racing resume a significant contributor. Full-time NASCAR drivers are not eligible. A race team must request the provisional 90 days prior to an event.
Okay, so this just seems like something that really is not that big a deal. Is this more for just marketing the sport that they want to bring in?
100%. And if you look at what I was talking about with Daytona this year, all the provisionals, I'm sorry, open entries that are coming that don't have the charters that are going to have to race their way in. You've got 4-time Indy 500 champion winner Helio Castroneves coming. What if he doesn't make the race? It'd be great for NASCAR to have him there. It'd be great for the teams to have him there, the manufacturer, etc. A lot of publicity. Again, it's like the inverse of what we just talked about with Kyle Larson being at the Indy 500 versus the Coke 600. Plus, I think that with NASCAR seeing what Trackhouse and some other teams have done, bringing people like Shane Van Gisbergen, others, I'm trying to think of others off the top of my head, and they're escaping me. Kimi Räikkönen might be one.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
Montoya is another one.
Didn't he race in one of the races last year again?
Yep. So all of those drivers coming in, should they not be able to qualify, this gives NASCAR the opportunity to say, yeah, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here, and we recognize that you draw fans, so we'll let you race.
From the Daytona duels, for example. But if it means more Helio Castroneves' attempt NASCAR races, I'm here for that. I'm trying to find confirmation online. Jeff Gluck says here that Helio is in the Daytona 500 as a result of the OEP, but I don't know if he's reading the same rule I am. Maybe we're just interpreting it differently. Oh yeah, no, here it is. Bob Pocker says NASCAR confirmed Helio Castroneves will have a guaranteed spot for the Daytona 500. So yeah, I don't love that. I guess this is the caveat. I can't have it both ways. I want the competition. I want the duels to matter. I want that pressure, but I also want people like Helio Castroneves to compete in the Daytona 500.
I did not watch this video in advance.
Yeah. So, well, that's why you're our analyst. So anyway, yeah. Why not? I mean, it shouldn't affect it. And if he's actually in contention somehow, which could happen.
He's right. The question of it is really the competitiveness in the duels. So if Castroneves is a 4-time Indy 500 winner, is guaranteed a spot through the open provisional, how hard is he going to go in the duels knowing that he's got a spot? And I think at times the duels can get pretty quiet and boring, and the real race happens around that transfer position, the person that's going to make it in and the person that is not. And that's where I want to see the excitement. It's a shame not to see Helio Castroneves potentially in that position and see what he'd be able to do as a driver of his caliber to get in versus some of the others. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Again, I did not watch this video in advance, but it feels like our brains are mentally connected in some form or fashion.
All right. Now, how to watch NASCAR this year. I didn't realize this was going to be a thing. I know we had talked about it and it was coming down the road, and I guess we're here. And look, it was necessary. They needed to get a little bit more modern and make it a little bit easier to communicate with the fans, use the technology that's available today. So let's see. I'm almost a little afraid to see what's going on here, but let's check it out.
10-year media rights deal. A deal that not only includes Fox and NBC, but also new networks, the return of an old friend, the sport's first venture into the streaming world, and a brand new in-season tournament.
Oh, yeah.
With the 2025 season just days away.
Oh, no, that thing is coming. What is that? Do we know what that's about?
We do. They've given some parameters about it. It's basically an in-season bracket knockout kind of challenge to get to not an in-season champion. I don't even know what to call more like a tournament winner. It's a way to spice up those races in the middle of the
what do they make extra money or something?
Yeah, they're going to get some extra money, some extra prize money, and some bragging rights, certainly as a result of that.
No
And
points though.
maybe you have, I'm not sure. I don't think it has to do with points. I think it's just
Okay.
fun. And then it could potentially, depending upon where where drivers are and where teams are in the season, both as well as in the playoff bracket, or not the playoffs. I don't even know what to call it, the tournament bracket, whatever. Maybe they make different strategy choices in a given race than they otherwise would have, which kind of spices up that race. So
sort of like stages, right?
Yep, exactly right.
All right.
Away, here's what fans need to know about where they can watch the premier stock car racing series
Yes,
this
I need
season.
to know.
The Craftsman Truck Series enters its 31st season and will once again be exclusively broadcast on the Fox family of networks. The season begins at Daytona on Valentine's Day, February 14th, FS1. Some surprise additions to the schedule include Rockingham on April 18th. No NASCAR series has raced at the Rock since 2013. Fun fact, that was Kyle Larson's first NASCAR National Series win. The Truckers will also race at Lime Rock Park on June 28th on Big Fox. That's one of 3 truck races shown on Fox this year, with the rest of the schedule on FS1. As of the recording of this video, Fox has not confirmed the broadcast booth for the Truck Series this season. Saturdays, meanwhile, will see a huge change. After a short trial run at the end of 2024, every single 2025 Xfinity Series event will be broadcast on the CW. The CW is an over-the-air broadcast channel with deals with local stations, so you do not need a cable subscription to watch. All practice, qualifying, and races will be broadcast on the CW.
All right. So is that a good thing? I mean, where was it last year?
Last year it was Fox, if I'm not mistaken. It might have had some split up as well. But it's not really any different. Like you said, the CW came in toward the last portion of last season. CW is basically a local channel, rebranded as CW versus the local channel. So it's kind of a national stream put through a local airwave.
So everybody will be able to watch it.
Everybody will be able to watch it. I basically don't see this as being very different from last year, other than the fact that, the big names like a Fox, NBC, etc. Aren't going to have those. It's going to solely be on CW.
However, there is a catch. Because they deal with stations at the local level, there is no guarantee that every local station will show every Xfinity Series race. The CW has deals with the ACC, Pac-12 football, which in the fall could overshadow some Xfinity Series broadcasts. The CW website says you can stream all Xfinity Series races online the day after the live event. So pay close attention.
Day after?
This is true. This is something I didn't consider. My local area, I should say, carries CW, so it would be interesting to see, or will be interesting to see, how local stations navigate those two different sports. I forget what it was. Over the weekend, I was trying to watch the Premier League game on USA Network, and they delayed the showing of the Premier League game for college basketball that was in an overtime situation. It wasn't even 2 really good teams.
Yeah, of course.
So halfway through the first half, we ended up getting to our soccer. I wonder if
and there was no option for you.
No option. I could not stream the Premier League game through Peacock because it was being shown only on USA. I could stream it on Peacock the day after, probably, and I have
the day after.
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of upset Xfinity fans through this year as that reality sets in.
I don't understand the day after. I don't understand that. Why can't you just play it?
Got me. I have no idea.
Attention to your TV guide. Maybe call up your local CW station and let them know you want to see cars going in circles, not this football fad. Adam Alexander will lead the broadcast booth all year long. After years with Fox Sports managing numerous part-time driver analysts, he will now work alongside Jamie McMurray, former Daytona 500 Brickyard 400 winner, and Parker Kligerman, fresh out the Xfinity Series seat and into the TV booth full-time. I like this broadcast team. It's young, should inject some new energy into the Xfinity Series, will give NASCAR Triple League its own unique identity. I agree with what Xfinity Series team owner Tommy Joe Martin said recently. He posted, "We need people that know Xfinity racing. The CW doesn't care about how our race relates to the Cup Series. We're the premier series to our broadcast partner. We need our own style and depth to the reporting through the field. I think this is a great group to deliver that." It's worth mentioning that while the Xfinity Series will air on the CW, NASCAR Productions will actually handle most of the broadcast. Last year, NASCAR opened up a $53 million, 58,000 square foot production facility in Concord, North Carolina. The facility has 4 broadcast booths built in, meaning some races have a couple of cameras on the roof at the track covering the whole track so they can see everything without things like poles in the way. New network, new broadcast booth, possibly a new broadcast setup. The Xfinity Series will certainly look a little different in 2025. Now for the premier NASCAR Cup Series, and I suggest you start taking notes. Cup races will be broadcast in 7 different locations throughout the year. Fox and FS1 coverage will be anchored by the incomparable Mike Joy, with Clint Boyer returning for his 5th year and Kevin Harvick entering his sophomore season in the booth.
Big changes.
NBC and USA are bringing back the sunshine with Lee Diffie, driver analyst
More
Jeff
white
Burton,
guys.
and the crew chief Steve Letarte. Enter Amazon Prime Video, built around fan favorite Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Another white
flanked
guy.
by veterans Adam Alexander and once again Steve Letarte.
Once again,
This
why not?
trio
Bring
will
him on.
stay busy as they will also
Not even a
commentate
chick.
races for TNT and Max. Shout out to Double A putting in that work this year. Still taking notes? Good, because this will be on the final. The Cup Series season begins on February 2nd. Fox will broadcast the season opening clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Then, of course, Fox will broadcast the 67th annual Daytona 500. Fox will then broadcast the next race at Atlanta, but where can we find practice and qualifying?
I'm glad I have Amazon Prime.
That's
Don't
right.
have to worry about
Amazon
buying
Prime Video will be streaming practice and qualifying for all Cup Series races the first half of the season, minus Bowman Gray, the Clash, Daytona 500, and the All-Star Race. Those practice and qualifying sessions will still be on FS1. Then, for the first time in Cup Series history, 5 races will only be available on a digital streaming service. Beginning with the Coca-Cola 600 on May 25th and ending with the June 22nd race at Pocono, Amazon Prime Video will be the exclusive home for the NASCAR Cup Series. There are an estimated 180 million Americans subscribed to Amazon Prime compared to only 68 million cable subscribers clinging to the cord for dear life. It will be interesting to see if NASCAR's traditional television audience is willing to migrate to a streaming platform. An old familiar network returns for the next 5 race stretch. TNT will broadcast the Summer Atlanta race as well as what could be the final Chicago street race. Then Sonoma, Dover, finishing things up with the Brickyard 400. These races will not only be shown on TNT, a cable channel, they will also be streamed live on Max. And this 5 race stretch also features NASCAR's first ever in-season tournament. TNT must have gone down to the folks at Daytona Beach, said, "Hey, look at what the NBA in-season tournament did for our ratings. Can we do that here?" And the Steves obliged. 32 drivers will qualify based on their results the last few races of the Amazon stretch of the schedule. They will then be placed in a bracket, assigned head-to-head matchups every week, with the better finisher each race advancing to the next round until only 2 are left at Indianapolis. The overall winner gets a cool $1 million payday. There's no larger regular season or playoff or championship implications. This is a 5 race in-season tournament that stands on its own. A new format just looking to spice up the sometimes dry summer.
Is there anything that you could think of right now that this in-season tournament can screw around with your every week viewing, wagering?
Again, I didn't watch this video beforehand, yet he and I seem to be quite aligned. I think he was going there next, and it's what I said earlier. I think it's the decisions that if you're in a head-to-head matchup against somebody in a race that is typically boring in the summer, when you look at places like, I don't know, Dover, Some of the other ones like that Pocono perhaps is in there. Some of the ones that are just kind of meh, that we don't really care about. I think NASCAR wants to get a little bit more intrigue in those. And I think depending upon where a driver or team is in that head-to-head matchup and who they're going against, depending upon how they're racing that particular day, you could end up with situations where teams maybe take a few more risks than they otherwise wouldn't have in some of those races. But again, I think everybody's going to have to keep their head on their shoulders and play within reason, because you still have the playoffs and the championship to look forward to, and you don't want to throw it away if you're on the cusp of one or the other. However, if one is secure and the other is not, then you go for that one over the other. So it could have some intrigue to it. I'm not so sure it's going to be all that exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, I certainly hope that there isn't anything possibly happen where you're watching one race and then for some reason they're doing something that could jeopardize the race in some way. I don't know. Let's hope it's the opposite. Let's hope that somehow it makes your driver more so take a chance on winning the race as opposed to, let me just get the points.
Yep.
So maybe it'll work to our, as far as bettors, maybe it'll work to our advantage.
I hope so.
Or stretch. And also, let's be honest, it's a desperate attempt by NASCAR to seriously break into the sports betting market. Oh, and before I forget, Cup Series practice and qualifying for the entire second half of the season will be broadcast on True TV on cable and Max.
Look at all of these destinations to watch NASCAR.
Absolutely wild.
Wow. You're going to need something like this to, every week when we do our show, trust me, now, every week we are going to have to remind you where to watch practice, qualifying, in the race. That'll have to be a new segment on our show. We have to get it sponsored. Where to watch NASCAR this week, sponsored by... And all right,
TV Guide.
Don't forget.
For streamers, NBC Sports takes over for the final 14 Cup races of the season, the push to the playoffs plus the 10-race elimination style format. The Daytona regular season finale, as well as Talladega, Martinsville, and the Phoenix Championship at the end of the year will all be on NBC. The rest will be on USA Network. So if we take a look at the full Cup Series schedule, broken into 4 segments to show the 4 different companies NASCAR is working with, every single network has a traditional crown jewel event.
Now, there's no major change. Like, is there anything regarding the schedule that's a big change?
I think the biggest change is probably Miami Homestead moving to number 6 on the list versus more toward the end of the year. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one. You still got Martinsville going into Phoenix. You got the Roval going into Las Vegas. Yeah.
What are these asterisks for here? Oh, in-season tournament. Okay, so the in-season tournament's going to be this is going to be right after Prime, I think he said.
Yeah, looks like the TNT races have the tournament, the 5
TNT Max races. Okay, yeah, and of course, this is the one we are hoping at some point that they are not corrupt or dumb enough. At some point, right now, they should have already been thinking about this months ago, that this needs to be the championship race as soon as possible. Homestead. Has to be. So.
Best track out there. Most entertaining.
I mean, we didn't like it that they're still going with Phoenix this year. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Schedule was in, whatever. You can't tell me this again next year. You just can't. Then again, you're either dumb or corrupt. So I don't know which one I choose, but I'll leave that up to you. You let us know. Comment section. Dumb or corrupt.
On their schedule. Fox gets Daytona 500, Prime, the Coke 600, TNT, the Brickyard, and NBC has the Southern 500 at Darlington. Also, every single network has at least one other marquee event to sell to their audience. Fox has the Clash and the All-Star Race. Prime gets the first Mexico City.
Fox has the Clash.
The marquee event.
Yes, this is a marquee event. The Clash. I'd rather watch the worst track in NASCAR over and over and over again than be subjugated to watching the Clash. I mean, you could make the Clash interesting and exciting, but NASCAR just chooses not to.
Cup Series event, TNT has the Chicago Street Race, and NBC has that Daytona regular season finale, and of course, the championship race. I hope your pen hasn't run out of ink. I know we just went over a lot. It's complicated, for sure. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be making this video right now. NASCAR's goal when putting together this TV.
All right, I think that's about it. What is this?
We thank you for making that video because we need the help too.
Yes.
Opportunities. For example, Amazon Prime has never marketed NASCAR before, but now I've seen commercials during Thursday night football games. TNT hasn't covered NASCAR in years, but now they have this shiny new in-season. Associated practice and qualifying sessions will be broadcast across Bell Media's linear and digital platforms, including CTV, TSN, USA Network, and TVs. And Tubi, which is now owned by Fox, seems to be leading the way. They recently reported 97 million active monthly users. NASCAR recently said that this new channel will broadcast the upcoming Hall of Fame ceremony live, will also re-air classic races, will show race replays from the current season, and they say fans can also expect timely original content like NASCAR Daily with Shannon Spake and race highlights, as well as fan favorites like Radioactive, Refuse to Lose, and Hall of Fame biographies. Again, NASCAR putting that $53 million facility to
Tubi. Have you ever heard of Tubi before?
Yeah, Tubi is a streaming app that you can get on Roku or something like that. Yeah, most of your in-week commentary shows appear to be on there. I think what you're seeing is NASCAR trying to follow the lead of WWE. WWE has their own production. They do their own production regardless of where the show goes. You've got Raw.
Took them this long to figure this out?
Moving over to Netflix. So NASCAR kind of trying to follow that model from what I can tell. So maybe putting their toes in the water in a few of those areas, and whatever works, probably try to take it on that direction in the future. So we'll see how it all plays out.
All right, so there you go. Again, we'll have links in the description as well in case you haven't watched these videos in full, so you can check them out. And then, of course, you'll know how to subscribe on Eric's channel if you haven't already done that. And we also, of course, hope you will subscribe here because we're going to be here all season long. And I will begin the season with the qualifying videos I did last year. I just want to warn you, though. Last year...
Do you know where to watch qualifying?
Yeah, well, I have to check. It's on the video. So I will figure out a way to at least give it a try, because keep in mind, we have really good traffic from it in the beginning. And then there was a lot of changes, and I know the hurricane came, and then I came back, and it was football season, and all of a sudden the numbers started to drop. So I'm not going to be doing qualifying videos on Saturday if we're not getting enough traffic. So hopefully it was more of just a seasonal thing, and it sort of went down football season. That's what I'm hoping for. But we're going to give it a try. Just don't want anybody to get their hopes up if the traffic isn't there. And I don't do it all season because I've got only about 98 other things I've got to do every week. And having to do that on a Saturday is time consuming, but I am definitely willing to do it. And I want to do it if the traffic and the need for it is out there. So other than that, of course, you can catch us like I said, hopefully mostly every Wednesday. We'll try to add some live programming in there as well. I know at some point I'd still like to be able to do some live coverage of the finish of one of these races. I don't know when we can do that. I don't know what time of year is best for you, CJ, but if we can figure out a way to do something live where we come on and interact, which of course you could see if you miss it live, you could just see it and we'll post it shortly after, and you can watch it whenever you want to watch it. Obviously, we can't broadcast the event while it's going on. But that's the whole idea. That's what they do on Patreon. That's exactly how you watch movies, TV shows, along with the reactioner that's what you have to do. They watch it, you turn on your show, and you watch it at the same time. It's the same concept. So hopefully CJ and I will be able to do that at least a couple times this year. We'll try to get our schedules together. And other than that, again, link in the description so you can check out CJ's weekly reports. When is your first report coming out?
First report's going to be out at the end of this week, hopefully by Friday, for DFS daily DraftKings preview, basically, for the Clash. And then I'll have another one prior to the duels next week. And then we'll have one final one before the Daytona 500 before we kick in with the barometer. And those will all be on rotowire.com. And we'll make sure that you've got the link down below these videos.
Absolutely. And so that's going to do it for our first show of 2025 on Proline TV. Don't forget, too, that you can check out whatever kind of fan you are. We got horse racing. We've got some hockey coming up as well. We've already done some. We're going to do some more this week. Football, obviously. And then golf, too. So F1 is coming, but not for what? Another 2 months?
Mid-March. I think the first race is March 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so we're still a little bit less than 2 months away before we, and obviously we'll let you know exactly when we're going to gear up for that. So that's going to do it here. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know if there's anything that you want us to do, any questions, comments at all. The interaction, always looking forward to that. And that's going to wrap it up. So for CJ Radun, I'm Greg DePalma. We'll see you next time.